Today we're in Denver, Colorado. I am at Music Works Custom Batons. I am here with Alan Martin, who is the founder and owner. Let me ask you, Alan, back in 1999, where did this need arise for a good quality conductor's baton?
Well, I guess it sort of started when I was working at Fletcher Hinton Music, and there was a company in Nebraska, Oklahoma, called Harrison Hertz. And they were making batons, slowly stopped. I guess he had health problems, and I thought it was a good idea. And it was fun.
Wonderful. Let me ask you, first of all, for a lot of the viewers that don't know it out there, but the conductor's baton is a very personal tool for that conductor, isn't it? Tell me about that.
Well, there has been a lot of discussion about batons. How big it needs to be, how heavy it needs to be, what color it needs to be, what the materials that it's made out of. So what I've done is asked a lot of questions and come up with some things that people like.
Wonderful. Speaking of people liking them, obviously I'd imagine a conductor probably has maybe a baton for rehearsal, one for performance, but quite honestly, be it performance or rehearsal, they probably want it to feel right.
Well, that's true. I mean, even for me personally, I can't use a bad baton even during rehearsal, but yeah, that's what we do.
Wonderful. Let me ask you, speaking of feeling right, let's go ahead and start with the handle itself. We're talking about different material, different styles. Explain a little bit for me.
Well, what I've done is when I first started making batons, I made a lot of different handle styles, and people like that, but it got to be like, how do I remember what to do? So I narrowed it down to 4 different styles. And one has a little bit of a nib on it so people can hold on to it. The other is a very traditional bulb. The other one is a long taper. And the fourth that I use is what I call it my homage to Harrison Hertz, that it's like 2 inverted cones against each other. And
interesting. So we're talking about you've taken four top styles there and put them together. What about the material that they're made out of? Are we talking about wood, acrylic, or both?
Well, I use both in what I do. I've come up with a number of woods. This is Moradillo, which is a South American wood. It's a dense wood. I also use acrylic like this that is poured plastic. And they both turn or lathe just about the same.
Wonderful. And when we're talking here, we're talking custom pieces that you're turning out handmade here, not mass production by any means. And so it's quite interesting because the people on the outside there, they can actually pick the style or type of wood they like.
Well, yeah, and that's hopefully is a good thing. Yeah. They can choose a wood, choose a style, choose a material. They can also choose a length of stick depending on how it works. My system sort of speaks as how big the hand is how big the handle needs to be. And then the other big criticism, or I shouldn't say criticism, the big thing that most guys want is the baton is balanced.
So balance is a big key there as part of the feeling right.
Yeah, it is. Let me show you. This one is not balanced right. This is why this one's not being sold, is that it's balanced too far in the wrong place.
So the stick length itself is something that a person can decide how long of length they want and that type of thing.
Yeah, and I use that stick length to try to figure out how to balance it in the process, is that it all depends on how much weight needs to be in the handle to balance out.
And the stick itself, is that made with different materials as well?
Well, the 2 materials that people really like are fiberglass and carbon fiber rods. And that's a personal thing. That's of the newer materials. Of course, the old material of using wood is still very much popular, but it takes a lot more time to make that stick because they have to be tapered. Oh, okay. And it's just not a dowel rod. They actually have to be tapered, so you have to work the material down.
I imagine those rods probably get a good beating from time to time on a conductor stand.
Well, they're not supposed to. We call them stand tappers. Well, I do anyway. And that's why I like the fiberglass and the carbon fiber, because it will take that abuse, even though we're taught in our conducting classes not to do that.
Yes, I remember being in band class before and hearing that tap. That would get our attention very well.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it
does
try
well.
Not to do that.
Let me ask you, as far as instrumentalists and conductors, but do you also make these for choral directors as well?
Yes, I do. That gets into a whole different aspect of batons, because choral directors have a tendency to never use a baton, and when they do, they like it very short. That creates another balance problem, and also the size of the baton or the handle is a lot smaller.
And as far as the length goes, you've heard a lot of people over the years talking. What length is something that you have found to be the most popular?
Well, if you go back into a lot of the early conducting methods, some of the conductors said at least 20 inches long. Now they're looking at batons that are the length between your bent elbow to the middle of your palm. But then again, I have one customer in Los Angeles that uses an 18-inch baton because he's 6'7". And he's just a big guy, and the stick, if it's a small stick, it'll get lost in his body.
Quite honestly, an extension of himself.
Well, it is. It's completely an extension of the conducting process.
Wonderful. Folks, you'll notice the website at the bottom of the screen right there. And what you're going to find is a lot of testimonials there of people who are just loving the quality of work that basically since 1999 Alan has been providing. And also you're going to find some blogs on there for people who love talking about these great batons. We caught up with you here in your shop. Obviously, we're not talking about mass production. Let me ask you, what is the turnaround time on these batons for someone?
Well, it usually is around a week. Depending on, well, working in the shop, sometimes you get cold weather and you can't paint or you can't turn the wood out here. So it takes a little bit longer. During the summer, it's about a week.
Wonderful. And if any store out there, a music store that basically wants to carry some of your products, is that available as well?
It is. Luckily, I have one local music store, Fleshner Hinton Music here in Denver, that carries them. I also have another store in Salt Lake City.
But I imagine you like those web orders when they basically give you the information that they want, the type of wood that they want, and you know you're creating something customized for them.
Well, I like the idea. I hope that they like the idea. I've been quite lucky in having a large number of multiple orders of conductors buying 2 batons at a time. Had one conductor in Idaho buy 5, so he didn't have to carry one. There was one in each school. So, and that's kind of nice.
Wonderful. And we've got, once again, the website, and his contact information is at the bottom of the screen right there. And basically what you're going to find is some images and photos of a lot of the styles of handles that we're talking about here, as well as the different types of wood. And even if you've got a type of wood out there that you'd like to have one created with, I'm sure Alan would love to hear from you.
Oh, yeah. And I've had, there was one instance that one of the customers wanted a batons made out of their childhood pear tree.
Wonderful. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.